Hi there, it's Nicole here today with a card featuring waffle flower stamps and dies. This is the awesome new Stitched Morning Glories stamps and the embroidery hoop dies, and I've used a couple of older waffle flower products as well. I love this because these stamps look like cross-stitch designs. And what is amazing is with the embroidery hoops, you can really frame them up. And I wanted to create this little trio of embroidery hoops that looks like they have been cross-stitched and then framed in these embroidery hoops and hung on a wall. I am going to stamp these with some waffle flower die inks. I am going ahead and stamping several at the same time. This way I can get more done using New Fish and Pond, Tickled Pink, and Happy Go Lucky. And I'm adding some little, or going ahead and stamping them more than one time with the Misty. I have found sometimes the first impression isn't that great, so I like to go ahead and do it a couple times because you really want the stitching definition to show for these cards. I'm going to line up the second layer now. Make sure that those are exactly where I want them to go. I lined all of them up, and I'm going to use a coordinating color of ink. Daydreaming for the blue. I'm just using a whole bunch of different ones. With the pink, I'm using Happy Go Lucky, which is the purple color, just to get a nice combination. And I accidentally put the wrong color on the one flower. So I crossed it out so I would remember that wasn't the right one. And I'm going to have to go ahead and do it again. Kind of a bummer, but I left it in here because I wanted to show you. Sometimes you get lost with what you're creating, or you ink something up wrong. It's not the end of the world. Just go ahead and do it again. So what I'm going to do is stamp this down here. I left plenty of room around my flowers, and you might be wondering why I've left so much room. This is because I want to die cut each of these with those embroidery hoops. So I need to leave enough room around them to die cut those and not have something else showing in there. This is the floral pieces in each Stitched Morning Glories set, and I have a prototype stamp set, so that's why mine doesn't look quite as nice as what yours will look like. But you can see that I drew earlier, you could see that I drew with a Sharpie around these stamped images that go together. This is so that I could line it up perfectly. Now I did go ahead and stamp the center of all of the flowers with some of the yellow You Said What ink. And now I'm taking CHIRP ink for the greenery portions. What's great about this stamp set and any of the stitched stamp sets from Waffle Flower, when you get them, they do come with an outline that shows you which images go together because it's very easy to get lost. They all start looking the same. It can be kind of tricky, but it takes the guesswork out of it, and it even is numbered to tell you which one goes where. So I am going to die cut my images now, and I'm just trying to decide what I want to die cut. I stamped this whole huge flower, and what I end up using is only a small portion, which is no big deal. I decided I only wanted that little one, and to fit all of these on the card, I can't really use all the big flowers. So I did die cut those and use the center portion only. Then from a sandwich of Fun Foam and Stick It with cardstock on top, I am die cutting my embroidery hoops. With the embroidery hoops, I'm going to ink those up with some Distress ink. I want them to have kind of that brown look to them. So I'm taking a ink blending tool and adding that brown ink to my embroidery hoops. A great way to customize these, maybe you don't have the right color of cardstock or pattern paper to create your embroidery hoops. This is an easy way to add your own color. On a piece of Mermaid cardstock from Fawn, I'm going to take a patched layers die now and die cut that. This actually doesn't die cut really. It adds that great stitching detail all the way around, which I think goes perfectly with the theme of this card. Then an older waffle flower stamp set called Notions is going to be the perfect finishing touch. I am stamping the greeting with some of the Leica Pro ink from Waffle Flower. It's this awesome gray ink. And then I'm going to mask off all of the edges if I need to. I don't think I'm going to have to do it for everything, but in a few places I will. And I'm going to take the New Fish and Pond ink and stamp some of the Notions from the Notions stamp set on the background for a tone-on-tone look. So the needle and thread, the scissors, these are all great little images, and even some little hearts. I think those are fantastic, but I want to fill in the whole background. It's going to be very subtle. In the finished card, you aren't going to see a lot of this. It's going to be a very subtle pattern, something I really like, but I think it ties in beautifully with the stitching theme of this card. A really nice thank you card. Perfect for those stitchers in your life that you might know. Just really beautiful. I'm a cross stitcher, or I really was a long time ago. That was kind of my first thing I did in crafting as an adult. I did it as a child too, but not as much. But as an adult, that was the first thing that I created quite a few cross stitch projects, and it still holds a very special place in my heart. Just it's a really satisfying and fun craft. So I'm going to fill in just a few more little hearts here and there. Not a lot of these are obviously going to be seen. When I get those embroidery hoops or the framed up stitched morning glories in place, you're going to lose a little bit of this, but I think it adds to the feel of the card. I am going to pop out my embroidery hoops now. And they have stick-it on both sides of that fun foam, so they're immediately a sticker. And then I can place these where I want them to go. Now, for whatever reason, I think maybe the stick-it wasn't all the way across. Some little areas on the embroidery hoops is not sticking very well. So I'm going to take a little glossy accents and secure my hoop to the fun foam even more. And a couple of them are going to hang off the sides, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to trim that up here in just a little bit. Go ahead and add both of my large embroidery hoops first. You want to make sure you have enough room for the large ones, so I always start with those first. Replace the center with the stitched Morning Glory die cut. Again, I'm going to fix this and make sure the embroidery hoop is secure to the fun foam. And finally, this little small embroidery hoop up near the top. I'm just going to use a little glossy accents here. I didn't think I could get my tape runner inside that little teeny tiny hoop. I'm going to flip it over, trim off the excess from the embroidery hoop. Go ahead and attach this to a white top fold card base. And this card featuring the Waffle Flower Stitched Morning Glory stamps and the embroidery hoop dies is all finished. Thanks for joining me today for this cross-stitched themed card featuring Waffle Flower stamps and dies. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Waffle Flower that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.